and welcome to the I Never Knew podcast, also known as Inc. This show dives into the life experiences of people who have been through it all and have come through the other side stronger, better, and triumphant. Each story is raw, authentic, and, at times, heartbreaking. One thing joins it all together: the fact that the stories can help the listener learn and grow. Hosted by life coach Maureen, she sits down each episode with a new guest who will empower the listener to set out on their self-discovery journey and start to heal. Now you'll be joined by Maureen and her special guest. Please enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of I Never Knew with Life Coach Maureen. I am Maureen Scanlon. I'm a certified life coach, author, speaker, and now, yay, a podcast host. I am joined today with such an amazing soul. I cannot wait for this conversation. It's been this beautiful friendship that's been growing, and she makes me feel good. She's one of these people that you cannot feel bad hanging around. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you Dawn Witte. Dawn she has a mission. She is here to inspire others to find their purpose and live it. She is a certified life coach, award-winning speaker, author, humanitarian, and the founder of the Desire to Inspire Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization that works to break cycles of extreme poverty. Dawn has also penned several books, including Be, which encourages perseverance, purpose, and putting kindness out into the world. And I just want to say hello, Miss Dawn. How are you today?
Hi, Maureen. I am wonderful. Anytime I get to speak to you is always makes my day.
Oh, right back at you. I mean, thinking of doing a podcast, you always have certain guests in mind. And of course, you were in my top tier of who needs to be here to spread their story. So a little background, Dawn and I met over LinkedIn, and we just had a conversation one day, and we just knew we were supposed to meet. We knew that we were soul sisters, and the synchronicity of what we are proud of and what our purpose is just fell in line, and it's just grown from there, and we're expanding our community together and introducing all of our people. And so this is the cool thing that I love about the work that we do is, there's this camaraderie and this collaboration that we just want to lift each other and help each other. And so you are an amazing person that needs to tell their story. And I think it's so important. The whole premise of this podcast is we all have these stories, but seeing the wonderful guests that I have on here and helping others learn that it's never the end. And when you're in the weeds, you can see the garden. And so let's start right off with what was the moment in your life, how you started off, however early you want to start your story, whether it was as a child, you felt different, or just a moment in your life that was your darkest moment. Tell us your background, your story.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah, I've always been different. So that's a common thread that's happened throughout my whole life. I grew up in Ohio. I went to college after high school, because that's the trajectory that everybody tells you you're supposed to do. And when I was going to school, I didn't really love I was studying psychology because it's always fascinated me, but I wasn't loving it. So I wanted to get some real world experience. So I moved to California. I love the beach. I love the ocean. And, I started working and just kind of seeing what was out there. I was 17, we don't know all the possibilities at 17. So I met my former husband and I got married and I had my kids, and I was so happy to raise my girls. I loved it. I was a stay-at-home mom. We were like the Trinity, the three of us doing everything together. And I absolutely loved being a mom. And when they got, is it my volume too? I'm sorry. Is it too? Maybe that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. When they got to be when they were in college, I started looking at my life going, oh gosh, my kids, raising them was my everything, my purpose. Like I woke up every morning, that's what I was putting my attention to. And then I didn't have that anymore. So I had to really start asking myself some questions like, well, what do you want the rest of your days to be look like? What do you want to do? And I could have, had lunch and gone shopping and done all those things and, still took care of my house. But I was like, I want to do more in the world. So I had to take some scary steps and kind of rediscover who I was outside of the titles that I had from, being my daughter's mom and my husband's wife. I had to find out who Dawn was.
Yes. The existential identity crisis that we reach after our children have grown and we put everything into our families, and we forget we are individuals. We come alone and we leave alone. And so you were faced at this point with, who the heck am I and what am I supposed to do now that I've raised these beautiful children and they're going off into the world? So what did you discover was your purpose, and which way did you go? What steps did you take?
I wrote about this in one of the book collaborations I did recently. I was not happy in my marriage for a long time. I was married for almost 30 years, and in 2000, my dad died, and I think that was kind of that kind of transitional period of your life where you start questioning things. And I remember my daughters were older, so, they were at school and I was cleaning, and I just remember I was crying. I was just so sad. I'm like, I had four dogs at the time and a bunch of cats. I won't even tell you how many. And I was just thinking, I cannot, how do you walk away from a marriage when, you love this person, and the reason that you're having problems is because they're never around for you or your children, and then make your children not see them even more wasn't an option. So I just felt hopeless. And I just remember crying and saying, Dad, God, the universe, my angels, what am I supposed to do? And I hear this voice saying, Dawn, somewhere there is a mother in Africa who cannot feed her child. And then it proceeded to say, so knock it off. But that was 2000. So that was 22 years ago. I couldn't have picked up and gone to Africa and done these things that I'm doing today in the world then. But I realized these were like seeds that were planted in my mind, along the way. And when in divine time, when it was the right time for me to do it, I did do it. But I had to, do the scary things and go on that journey and not know who I was for a little bit in order to get to who I want to be.
Wow. That's amazing. What I hear was, the low point for you was not, as some marriages that are bad are abuse. It was more of a neglect, and you stayed raising your children and really sacrificed and said, okay, I can't do this anymore. And so my hard decision is, well, he's never around anywhere. Anyway, do I make it more where he's not around, or do I focus on me finally? And
yeah.
What a random thought that there are children in Africa that need a mom, and you knew that was your favorite thing in the whole world, and really just the soul of who you were as being a mom.
Mm-hmm.
What a random thought, and I love intuitive thoughts like that where you're like, okay, I'm just going to listen. So what did it look like? What did you start doing? How did you take those first steps? Because most people would be like, I wouldn't even know the first thing about even traveling to Africa, let alone, joining any kind of a nonprofit or helping anyone. So how did you start that?
Well, it took 15 years for me to get into the place of stepping into me, because my girls were still, I was still raising them. So, and this it was like a seed that was planted, but it wasn't growing. So again, I didn't know what it meant. I thought it was a quote unquote random thought, but I know that nothing is really random. And there was a reason for that thought back then. But when they were in college, I started doing things like going to seminars, like, Oprah had a seminar with Tony Robbins, and listening to speakers, and then, going to get my life coaching certification. And then I went to Africa, and, Africa really changed my whole life. And it was like the first time I'd ever traveled that far, and it's pretty far. I live in Los Angeles, so it's really, really far. And, I was alone. I didn't have my daughters. I didn't have my husband. I was just there by myself. I was still married at the time. But I got to see who Dawn was, just out by Dawn, Dawn's self. And that was, and then also the people there are so kind and so warm and generous and loving. I saw that, I am so very blessed in my life because I have access to clean water. No matter what problem I have, there's somebody who's struggling for clean water, yet they're happy and generous and kind and joyous. So it made me so even more grateful. I've always been grateful, but even a more profound gratitude I have now for everything I have.
Wow. I love that. The seed was planted, but it wasn't growing. And like everything that you grow, you've got to water it. And so you started watering it by taking these steps. And I love that you said, I just started doing something different every day, finding myself. And my journey was the same. It was like, let me just do something different today that I hadn't done yesterday. Let me just take a course. Let me just, read a book. Let me figure something out. But a scary leap, a big leap from just taking a course online at home to going to Africa. I think that is a show of bravery and courage, no matter how nice people are. And, for me, it represents just a leap. You went from steps to a leap. And what was neat is that you had the gratitude that I have for what I have in my life is for the purpose. It's greater than the fear I have of going and doing something that's completely foreign to me and unknown. And that's such an amazing, it's such an amazing way of showing people that just follow your heart. I always say, figure out the why and the how will come.
Exactly.
So when you got to Africa, did you know people before you went? Who did you talk to? How did you get into the arena?
Again, it's all by divine intervention and guidance. I was not afraid, and people would say, "Aren't you afraid you don't know anybody?" Because I didn't know anybody. I had made some connections through Instagram, I believe, some social media. And so, we start another organization in Ghana was doing some work. And so I said, "Hey, let me help you do some work when I'm there." And so it just evolved. Now I have thousands of friends all in 5 different countries in Africa. But before I knew nobody. But, it wasn't scary to me. And I don't know why that was, but I think it was because it was meant to be.
Yeah, you were getting ready to be ready, I always say. And it's like, when you're ready, you'll know it. And you just knew it. And I think that's just such a profound thing for people to hold on to. And especially the listeners is, we measure ourselves against everyone else in society and expectations, and we're like, I should be further along in this, I should know this, I should have more money, or I should have this. It's great when you just kind of breathe and say, you know what, I will know when it's time. And I have found for me in the last 5 years of this business, the things I was really terrified of and didn't really have the self-confidence 5 years ago, now it's easy. Now I just move. So that's amazing. Excuse me. That is amazing. So it sounds like you were pretty confident in who you were, even though you didn't have that identity yet of just being you and what you could bring to the world. When was there a time, and can you explain, where you felt the most helpless or the most hopeless or lonely, where it just seemed like there was no light at the end of the tunnel? Can you give us a moment in your life you felt that?
Oh yeah, I think like maybe around the time my daughters were in high school, like late high school, and I was sleeping on the couch. My husband and I were sleeping in different beds, and I was just like I felt like for a little bit, and I never would like consider killing myself, but I did consider like maybe people would be better if I wasn't just here. I mean, I was just not happy at all. And I couldn't make him hear me. And I kept thinking that I'm asking too much, or, I'm being too much, or I'm too weird, or there's something wrong with me, all those thoughts that go through our head. And I think that was like the lowest point, because again, my daughters were like separating from me because they were supposed to be autonomous adults. And I was really feeling that lack there in my life.
Wow. And I love that you said, thoughts cross, those kind of thoughts cross a lot of our minds at some point where you're feeling sort of non-existent.
Mm-hmm.
And also where you felt your most power was in being there for your girls. And they, as adults, of course, have to grow and have to move on. And it wasn't intentionally leave mom behind, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the cycle of life. And so for you, when you found all of your worth in being there and being busy for the girls, and then realized, oh my gosh, my marriage has really been sort of a non-factor for a while, and I've been neglected. So you're at this moment on that couch going, what do I bring to the world? Why am I even here? Like, who's going to notice? What am I doing that's making a difference? Is that where you were?
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I really felt like I didn't have any worth or value, except for like cleaning my house, and feeding my kids and my dogs. That was all the value and that is very valuable. I am not dismissing the value in that, but that's all I thought my value was.
Right. And those are the obligations of life, and that is not the same as our purpose in life. So I like that you define that. So you go to Africa and you meet these people and you start getting involved. Tell us what you did and what impact it had on you, and how it really changed your frame of mind of knowing this is what I need to do. This is how I need to do this.
Oh, I just got goosebumps all over. I might start crying because this is really powerful stuff. I met these children, these beautiful children. I loved them. I helped them with their homework. I helped them, feed, food, cook for them, give them food, all kinds of things. I fell in love with them, and I could not go back home knowing, that there's struggles, and say, well, now I'm going to go back to my life. So I just said, you know what? I started this foundation to help share inspiring stories of people doing amazing things in the world, because when we turn on the news, all we see is negative story after negative story. And I just thought, I know so many people, rescuing animals and, helping unwed mothers and just doing all kinds of amazing things. I want to share those stories. So I started my foundation with that notion of sharing these amazing stories. And then I went to Africa and I thought, whoa, let's talk about inspiring stories. These people don't know where their next meal is coming from or how they're even going to get water yet. They're going to take in 67 children. And then I'm telling you, Maureen, it wasn't even like I said, okay, well, here are the next steps and I need to do this, this, and this to get here. People started coming into my lives, opportunities started coming, and it was literally, it's divine watching it unfold. And that's why you said, you don't have to know the how. That's what people get so tripped up on, because they're like, I have no idea how to do that. Just know your why. And I'm telling you, the steps and the things are going to start pouring into your life.
I love that. It all lines up, doesn't it? It's that whole, your vibe brings your tribe. And when you're really aligned with what you're supposed to be doing, I mean, opportunities come.
Yes.
That you would never, ever, ever expect. And you're going, how did that even happen? How did this person find me? And I love that. I think that's a miracle of, self-awareness, enlightenment, spirituality is, believe it and it will happen when we're not just focused on what's right in front of us. Just know if you want it and you're in a good place of love, it happens. The cool thing too is finding your niche. And your niche is where is my knowledge, where is my experience, and where is my passion? And you loved being a mom, you love kindness, you love helping others and sharing, and boom, it brought you right there, smack dab in the middle of your niche, to help these children who needed what you had to give, and you needed them.
Oh, yes, yes. Yes, I saw something yesterday. I saved it on my phone. It said the number one reason why people give up so fast is because they tend to look at how far they still have to go instead of how far they've come.
Yes. Yes. Those past validations and affirmations that we need to make is, don't wait for the next bad thing to happen or the next struggle. Look back at all those things you've already done, and it gives you that strength to say, I can handle whatever comes, whatever's on the path, because I've already done all of this. And I love that you give that advice. So you started this foundation, and I heard from a little birdie when we were on a panel together that you are a rock star when it comes to fundraising. So tell us how you ended up doing all this fundraising, and how has the foundation benefited? How have the girls benefited from this?
Well, it's interesting because I spent my entire adult life volunteering in fundraising, whether it was PTA, National Charity League, this organization, that organization. So I've been doing a lot of fundraising my whole life. And when I started with my foundation, I'm like, I'm really tired of fundraising. So I've been actually focused on creating my product line and other avenues of income to raise the money to do the work, because one of the things I want to do for the people that I work with there, not just the children, but all of the people, is uplift everybody. So instead of just giving them like $50 or $100 to feed them for a month, let me help you do the thing that you love doing, whatever your gift, skill, talent, passion is. Let me help you figure out a way to monetize that so you don't have to ask for a donation. You can support yourself, and then you can support others.
Ooh, empowerment. I love
Exactly.
it.
Exactly.
What is it? Don't feed a man a fish, teach him how to fish. Isn't that
Yes, it's I've seen, we send our old discarded used clothes to Africa, and then you see these beautiful children wearing ripped up old ill-fitting stained clothes. And I think, well, if we took that same amount of money that we spent to ship that over there, what if we just took that money and we bought clothes from a local seamstress, a local merchant, a local tailor? That lifts up the community, and it provides beautiful African clothing for these beautiful African children. So it's like a win-win in every way by doing it this way.
Oh, I love that. Out of the box thinking. I love that. And like you said, now we're not just helping these children to feel better, have self-confidence because they're wearing their culture's clothing. Now you're helping the community that makes more money, that can now assist these children in these other needs as well, which is, oh, I love that. It's just that sort of piggyback effect, which I think is, oh, I just think that's amazing. And if we had more thinking like you, more more of that out of the box thinking, rather than just giving aid or hand out charity, how do we teach them to do this for themselves?
Well, and Maureen, you've written books. I've written books, right? The first book I wrote, I remember when I got it, I remember just looking at it going, I did this. Like, I created this. You cannot give somebody that sense of accomplishment. And by allowing people to do their thing, I think that's the greatest gift you can give them.
Oh, beautifully said. Beautifully said. You give them the power to know that they can do it for themselves, and that's a gift that you're giving that's bigger than any monetary thing.
Yes.
You can hand them. And I love that. So of course the podcast is I Never Knew. And so the question I want to make sure I ask everyone is, what is the one thing now that you look back on and say, man, if I only knew then this thing that I know now, what would be that one thing that you would tell your younger self or anyone who was in a situation you used to be in?
Well, first I would like to say that I do look at all of my life, all the past mistakes, all of it, and believe it was a gift. And I'm grateful for the knowledge and the lessons that I've learned. And I wouldn't have wanted it any other way, because I know it was exactly the way it was supposed to happen. But my greatest advice to anybody is to believe in themselves. We are all here for something beautiful that only we can bring to this earth. We all matter. We are all significant. We should not be comparing ourselves to other people. I cannot sing. I'm not terribly athletic, and if I define myself by those things, then I'm not going to see the things I am really good at. So find the things that you're good at and believe in yourself. Like, love yourself like you love your most cherished person in your life. Love yourself even more than that, because we are with us our entire lives.
Love that. Absolutely love that. My new branding and speech that I'm working on is how to be your own best friend. And I think I didn't know that. I didn't understand that in the first half of my life. Was, what do you mean be your own best friend? Like, I need to make sure everybody else is happy. I need to make sure I'm everybody else's friend. And I think the believe in yourself that you just said is exactly that. Be your own best friend first. And when you love yourself, that radiates, and it comes out in giving, and it comes out in confidence. It comes out in your facing fears. So I think that is just wonderful, wonderful advice. If I have a listener right now who is just like you in the situation, she's been in a marriage, it's an unhappy marriage, her children are now grown, she stuck it out till her kids were grown, and she has no idea who she is, and she came to you, say, for some life coaching, what is the main way or method or advice that you would give to her?
I would say go within and start asking yourself some questions. I mean, when I first started asking some of those questions to myself, I remember just sitting outside going, God, what am I good at? And I heard in my head, you're good at loving people. And I'm like, what the heck? What the heck do you do that?
What do I do with that? What does that mean?
Do you put that on a resume? At the time, I didn't have the tools to understand. I truly believe love is why we exist. And it's our highest and greatest currency. So if I'm good at the best thing that we're here to do, then that's pretty good. But I was looking at it as at a deficit. So ask yourself some questions like, what do I love doing? And also believe and understand that, yeah, people don't always have to understand why you do or make the choices that you make. And, sometimes they may never, even the people that you love the most. But if these are feelings that are callings and yearnings in your own soul, you follow them. Because again, that's where all the magic and the miracles happen.
I love that. How do you decipher between what expectations are of you versus what your intuition is telling you?
Well, I will say our expectations talk meaner to us than our intuition. If it's coming from a mean voice or self-deprecating or beating yourself up, that is not your intuition.
So what does my intuition look like? If I have a purpose and I don't know what it is, how do I get clarity on where to go and what to ask myself when I go within?
One of my favorite first things is like, what do you love? Make a list of all the things you love. And it could be from the foods you like, what colors you like, what activities you like. Start thinking in terms of what you love, because love is not going to lead you astray. And, again, you start putting those pieces together and start remembering, oh yeah, when I was younger, I loved to paint and I stopped painting because my life got really busy, so it might start jarring some, again, childhood memories of things you love doing or things you love doing as an adult, but always start with love. And then that's going to start like unfolding some different ideas and notions and options. And then, again, trust and believe, have faith that things are working out for your highest and greatest good. And then surrender, surrendering to what take the action steps and the opportunities that come your way. Saying yes is a big thing too, because you never know what opportunity is going to lead to the next opportunity. So again, thinking about what you love, saying yes to opportunities, and then believing and taking those scary steps, because the scary steps are the things where you have the most growth.
Ooh, I love that. I once heard someone say, if it's not a hell yeah, it's a no.
I love that.
So in light of, and I don't get into politics and religion, but in light of what has just happened with, a couple of Supreme Court rulings this week, I know there's a lot of negativity out there, a lot of very strong opinions, a lot of things that are opposed to people's beliefs and values. And so I want to ask you, when these things happen in life, how do we find a way to not be so angry and opinionated and try to try to force people that we are right in what we are saying? How do we avoid pushing our opinion on someone, and how do we also avoid letting in that negativity in our lives?
Well, I turn off the TV. I think that's a good first step. And I see it, I hear it, I feel it. You know what? I never try to tell anybody that I am right. I mean, I don't even tell my dogs that they need to listen to me. So, I have my own opinions, my own beliefs. I don't get into arguments and debates with people about things, because it's like we all have a different perspective because we've had a different life experience, and so I've not walked in your shoes, so I cannot judge your opinion, but I just want, respect for each other, and just, again, focus on love, focus on the things you love, the people you love, what you love, and stop, like, what we consume, what we are focusing our time and attention on are going to be our experience of our lives. So if we're constantly looking at the negative news and the people arguing and people yelling, we're going to feel like that's the whole world. Step outside of that media and start connecting with people one-on-one. And again, through love and compassion. And it's not going to affect you that much, that deeply. Our power is in changing ourselves and being the best us we can be.
I love that. So what I heard was avoid and retract from things that don't feel good, that are, you can feel vibrationally when things are off. And if it's making you angry, it's a negative vibration.
It's triggering.
Yes, and turn off the TV or get away from social media, or
go take a walk. Go play with your dog. Go play with your children. Borrow somebody else's children. Not in that way. That sounds wrong. Like, go to your friends' kids.
With permission. Borrow children with permission.
There you go. Thank you. But you told a story when you did our podcast about when your grandson was going to school and you asked him how he felt, and he told you his stomach hurt. His intuition was telling him something was off about that situation. If you can avoid whatever it is that is causing that distress in you, do it.
I 100% agree, because I don't think we pay enough attention to physically how we're feeling something. I don't think we pay enough attention to how we feel. And a lot of that is just programmed because we were told, you want something to cry about, I'll give you something to cry about, or, just deal with it. Or, I think we were, a lot of times, and I noticed this with my grandson, especially with boys and males, is telling them that they have to be tough and not emotional, and they're not allowed to express themselves. And I've seen the repercussions now with, I have custody of my grandson. I see his fear in telling me how he feels, or being able to speak his truth, or when he falls and gets injured, I'm not going to make him feel bad for, having a cut. I'm not going to give him the, don't be a sissy talk or anything. So I think you're right. A lot of this is just programmed into us, and we don't pay attention enough to how we're feeling. And I think that's a really good measurement to say, if something's not feeling good, then it's not meant for me today. And it's a hard thing to say I can stop paying attention to this and go to a great feeling. You can't, but you can move away from it and go neutral and just say, I'm just not going to focus on that right now because it's not feeling well. And if you do
And
everything out of love,
if your energy and attention isn't going to change that immediately, when COVID first happened, I remember thinking, and everybody locked down, I just remember thinking, oh my gosh, I don't want to live in a world where we have to socially distance from each other. We can't like hug our friends and be with them. Like a world without that love is a world that I'm not interested in being part of. But then I remember saying, you know what, Dawn, you are here on this earth at this time for a reason. You have to believe that there is some greater plan that you just don't know what it is, and just be your best self here. And when others are afraid, help them not be afraid. And, you're going to get through this, so it's the faith and believing.
And I love that because you took something that felt really bad for you, and it was a trigger of, I don't want to be by myself. I'm a very energetic person. I want to be in the presence of people. I want to hug people. I'm physically affectionate. I want to be near people. And you took it and you turned it into, what is this teaching me and how can I help others? And I think that's really the gift of any light workers or teachers or anyone in the field of self-help, that if we can help others to turn something that they're seeing that doesn't feel good into something that benefits the rest of mankind, that's the key. And I find there's a really, really cool trend going on here with the people that I'm meeting in this arena, where we all have a way of saying, okay, I don't have any control over anything outside of me, but I do have control over what I say and what I do, and I can make it better, even if the outside doesn't change.
Yeah, there's that saying, if it's out of your control, it should be out of your mind too. I know I messed up the quote, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Out of sight, out of mind. There's the one too. There's an additional one, but you're right. In attention, where attention goes, energy flows. So focusing and paying attention to what you're paying attention to. I recently had this experience. You and I have talked about it. I have some medical issues going on, and every day I'm worried about it because I don't have answers. And I've stopped myself so many times and said, stop paying attention to it and start focusing on what you want to happen. So you want this to be healed. You want these answers. You want these solutions. Stop looking at what could happen that's in front of you, the inability to change that you have no answers yet, and believe the outcome that you want. And that's really, really helped me in so many ways, whether it's medical conditions or family problems or friendships or financial. I think it's really hard for humans to see what isn't there, yet we call faith that which is not seen. We believe in, we do that when we have faith, but we don't always do that in our mindful lives, in our reality, right?
Yeah. And it's natural to go down the path of worrying about the future. And whenever I start doing that with whatever it is in my life, I just stop myself, because I'm like, if worrying is not going to change it, why am I spending any energy on worrying? Now, if worrying would fix it, then yeah, sure. Spend all the time you want doing it, but it doesn't. It just disturbs it robs you of your peace. And when you're in peace, you can find better solutions to problems.
Yeah, and I think, they talk about the law of attraction or God or whatever anybody's, faith or belief is, spirituality is. And have you ever had those experiences where for me, it's always been the courts. I don't know why. The courts make me nervous. And I've been through a lot of court proceedings with my daughter throughout the years, as well as my own issues with my divorce and custody stuff. And I just remember, I don't know why courts are so triggering. And I go to the courts, and then once I've filed whatever I need to file, all I do is just focus on it and stress over it and just, what if it doesn't go my way? What if this? And then I'll get the answer, and they'll say, yeah, you get everything you want, or this is, we've ruled in your favor. And I look back and I'm like, why did I waste all that time?
I love that. My daughter, I was taking her to the DMV, and as we're driving there, she goes, Mom, but what if they say this? And what if she says this? I said, Taylor, what if she doesn't? And she just looked at me, and I just said, we'll deal with whatever she says when we get there. But right now you're getting yourself all worked up about all the possibilities that could happen. But she could actually just say, here you go, it's done, easy. So let's not put that out into the universe. Let's just go deal with it as it happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, just lately I've realized, the more I'm dwelling on it, the more energy I'm bringing to it, because energy doesn't know the difference between what's wanted and what's not wanted. And so the more energy I give to something, the more I'm asking it to happen. And so I've learned now, like, stop doing that, Maureen. Stop focusing on what you don't want and start focusing on what you do want. I remember, I always do a yearly, vision board or whatever. And I didn't do a vision board this year, but I had one thing I wanted to accomplish. And I was gung-ho in January. I need this, I want this. I reached out to my daughter who's, she does marketing and PR. And I said, hey, I want to do this thing. She hired someone to do, graphics and blah, blah, blah. And here I am at the end of June. Okay, January to July. I let 7 months of the year go by until I accomplished this thing. And I was telling Dawn before we got on, I didn't even have it in my consciousness to start this podcast. And last week, I like to build little mini houses. It's very creative outlet for me, and it helps me hyper focus and just not think of anything else. And I'm in the middle of building this little mini house. And all of a sudden, I just heard, today you need to do a podcast. And I thought, ooh, that's a lot of technology. I don't know the first thing about doing this. And that little voice, those little insecure voices, well, Dawn does a wonderful job. And my other girlfriend, Sabrina, they do so great. I'm not good at this technology thing. I don't know if I'm ready to do this. And I just ignored all of it. And yet, that one just said, figure it out. We'll just take it a step at a time. As you just said earlier, which I love it, the seed was there, but it wasn't growing. And I decided to water it that day and listen to it and just say, tag with it. You're not going to get this done if you at least don't just start.
There is I don't know if you know about how bamboo grows, but I learned this in life coaching, and I love this analogy. So bamboo grows really, really tall, but the first couple years, you don't see any growth on the surface because it is growing a deep root system. And if without that deep root system, the big tall bamboo plants wouldn't be able to sustain in the wind and stuff. So it has to have the root system. So I always feel like it was growing, the seed was growing, but it was growing not where we could see its growth, but it needed to have that foundational growth in order for when we do see the physical growth to sustain it.
Ooh, I love that. That's a great mantra. Grow your roots first.
Mm-hmm.
Fabulous. Which brings me to, as we come to the end, near the end of this, I'm asking everyone, when you come up on your daily struggles, or you see some resistance or blockage or something that feels unattainable, what is your go-to either thought process or mantra that you say to yourself that gets you over that hump?
Sometimes I'll walk away from it a little bit if I have that flexibility to do, because, there's no point in me sitting there being frustrated, because it only adds to more frustration. And I feel like sometimes if you can, again, go outside in nature, or just do something that you love, whether it's petting on your dog or cooking something or painting or playing an instrument, go do something that gives you some pleasure and clear your mind. And, I love that you said the mini house thing that you build, because, I always find that, sitting there meditating is not my thing. But I find in moments like when I'm vacuuming or when I'm in the shower, that's when these thoughts come to me. So you don't have to do what everybody tells you as far as traditional, routes to your own self, do what works for you. And, just again, take a break, go do something that inspires you, and then you can come back to it with a renewed energy and passion.
I love that. So I asked for a mantra. What do you say? What are your thoughts? And what's cool is your go-to is to physically remove myself from a situation and go do something. No, that's great. I love it. That's what I love about this is just the variety of how we all deal with things. And you literally are like, I'm not only going to mentally get away from it, I'm going to physically remove myself from thinking about this or doing this thing, and I'm going to go do something that brings me joy. And I'm with you. And I don't like labels, but I have focus issues. And there are diagnoses for those with quote unquote focus issues. So meditation can be difficult for us with focus issues. What I love is I think there's a time for everything, and our moods and our energy change daily. So one day you might want to go out into the yard. The next day you might feel like listening to some music and relaxing. The next day you might feel like running a marathon and expelling all this extra frustration. So I think that's really cool. And meditation has so many different methods now that you can try. I prefer what would you call that? I like music. So I'm manifesting my move to Hawaii. And so right now, my favorite thing to do is listen to this Hawaiian meditation where you can hear the ocean and it's got Hawaiian music and it's all I need. I bring myself to this place of where I want to be. I'm sitting on the beach. I see my beautiful dream house in Hawaii. I see my business doing retreats on the beach. So I think there's something for everyone, and we just have to keep exploring what works for us. So I love that you said physically, but I am going to still pin you down to a mantra.
Okay, a mantra. I just want to be my very best self, by who I choose to be in the world. And so I don't know if that's a mantra.
It is, totally is. I want to be because I'm writing this down, my very best self. What an awesome mantra that is. So when things struggle, all you have to do is say, I want to be my very best self, and I'm going to take whatever step I need to do that. And if it's nothing, then it's nothing. If I want to take a nap, then that's better for me. If I want to move forward and do something different or meet with a friend or have a good meal, it's you being in touch with what makes you your best self. And that's joy, right?
Yeah. And it's also giving ourselves the permission to do any of those things. Because how many times have we said, oh, we're going to go take a nap, or, oh, we're going to go do something that's pleasurable. And then the whole time we're doing it, we're like, oh God, I should really be paying those bills, or I really should be, doing this. So now we've just done this thing, but it hasn't brought us any peace because we're still beating ourselves up about it. So like literally tell yourself, I'm giving myself permission to do this, and do it without any kind of guilt or anxiety or worry about it.
Ooh, spoken well, because of some of that programming, whether it be perfectionism or you witnessed hustling around you. Your parents were just go-getters, and if you sat down for a minute, they were right on you saying, get up, go do something, don't be lazy. So yeah, a lot of that's just that programming that if I'm not doing something, then I'm not doing anything worthwhile. And I think you're absolutely right. It's removing guilt that people place those expectations on us for. And we say, no, I don't have any guilt because I'm doing what I need to do that's best for me right in this moment. So I love that. And it's a great segue into the question that I'm asking every guest. What is your go-to self-indulgence? And it can be anything. And I don't care if you say you have a glass of wine, or you love chocolate, or whatever it is, binging Netflix. I don't care what your self-indulgence is, but I'm interested to see what everybody's different self-indulgence is. What's yours?
Dogs. Dogs. You know, I told you, mentioned before, I had 4 at one time. I've had 6 at one time. I only have 2 right now. I lost my Whitney a couple months ago, but I had 3 very large dogs. I love dogs. I think they are like the perfect what unconditional love looks like in physical form. And so yeah, I indulge in dogs.
You know I'm on board because I don't know if you guys all know this. Don't think I said it on the last episode, but my 2 books are My Dog is More Enlightened Than I Am and My Dog is My Relationship Coach. So Dawn's answer gets a gold star from me because I self-indulge in these puppies all day long, and you're right, they are a really good distraction and they don't care about your problems, and they help you not care about your problems. They
Just
literally
love
are.
you.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
anybody who gets that excited when they see you, like even walk past and they start wagging their tail, people don't do that.
You are their world. You are their world. Everything that you do and you say, and I mean, they live for us. They live
Yes.
for us. They have shorter lives because they are so unconditional. They don't really have lessons to learn like we do. That's the beauty of them, and we're so lucky to have them in our world. So in the closing of this, I want you to tell everybody what you have going on, where to find your books, where to find your website, all the good stuff. This is your moment to shine and promote you.
Oh, well, thank you, Maureen, first of all, for having me on your show. You know, I love our relationship. I love what you're doing in the world. I appreciate being able to share this time with you. People can find work that I do with my foundation at desiretoinspirefoundation.org. The product line that we have to help raise the money for the foundation is the beelineproducts.com. And we're just adding new, exciting, we're adding a jewelry line to this pretty soon. I'm designing it right now. That's what I did right before I got on this call, working with a designer. So that's the beelineproducts.com. And I'm about to release my community and courses called The Secrets of Being. And that's coming out within the next couple of weeks. So it's been busy this year, but all good stuff.
Busy is good. So the Beeline is that has 1 B in it, not 2. Correct?
Yeah, 1 E, yes. BELINE products.com.
Perfect. I want to make sure they can get to you. We don't want them like going to some website where there's like, they're selling honey or something. I love it. Beeline product. They're really cute too, you guys. I've seen her pillows in our backgrounds on our videos. And Secrets of Being. Ooh, that's going to be interesting because I think it's key that we learn how to just be human beings, not human doings. So I am so grateful to have you here. And I think everyone is going to find so much value in everything that you've taught us. And it's so beautiful that you're bringing the world together and doing all of these amazing things. I'm privileged to know you. If anyone wants to, are your books on Amazon, Dawn?
Yes, they are on Amazon. If you look up Dawn Airhart Witte, you should pull up my author's page and they're all there.
Okay, guys, go to Amazon. You can find Dawn's books, my books. If you just want to reach out to her, you can always email me as well, and I'll get you in touch with Dawn. If you want to comment or have any ideas or be a guest on this podcast, just reach out at lifecoachmaureen.com. And make sure to subscribe and like and share this podcast. Let's get Inc. huge. Let's get everyone to share their stories, to join together and raise the vibration of the planet, to be there for one another and to help each other live the best life that they absolutely can. So we are on iHeartRadio, Deezer. We are on, let's see, what are some of my other ones? There's a bunch of them. You can't miss us. So again, I want to thank you, Dawn, and I just can't say enough about how much I'm happy that you're in this world with me.
Oh, I feel the exact same about you, Maureen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, love.
Thank you for tuning in to the I Never Knew podcast. If you found today's episode inspiring and educational, please be sure to follow, subscribe, and spread the word. The more people that join the Inc. community, the more it can develop and influence others as we work together for a healthier and brighter future. Until next time.